That's got to be the most beautiful tourist office I've ever seen. And if we go up these steps, I think you're going to agree with me on this. I think this has got to be one of the best views that you're going to get from any tourist office anywhere in the world. If you know a better one, let me know in the comments.
As well as having incredible views and being stunningly beautiful, Gassin's got other things going for it, and we'll come back to those shortly. Well, here we are on top of the tourist office in Gassin, which is a little village not too far from St Tropez in the French Riviera. There's a lot of wind noise in the microphone today. You can see how breezy it is up here. This wind is specific to this region. It's its own little microclimate, and the wind is known locally as Le Mistral. If you've watched the first video in this series, which is St Remy de Provence, I explained about the wind known as Le Mistral. I actually ate in this pizzeria later in the day, and I got speaking to the owner, lovely man, and he told me quite a lot about the wind and the climate in general. Around here, they believe there's 3 levels of the Mistral. A level which is low, where it blows for 3 consecutive days. Then there's a medium level where it blows for 6 consecutive days, and a high which is 9 consecutive days. And it seems to be a common pattern. I'm not saying that it never blows for 4 days at a time, but generally speaking, that's the way the locals see it. When I discovered that Gassin was reputed to be a romantic village, I asked myself some questions. I mean, can a place actually be romantic? What would make it romantic? I guess it might vary from person to person, because we could each have our own definition of what is romantic. I've got my own ideas on it. Anyway, we're going to explore the place, and by the end of it, together we'll find the answer. This is the 7th video in this series. In the first 6, every place I went to, there were galleries, art galleries with paintings, sometimes with sculptures, lots of arts and crafts. But these galleries, they were everywhere and they were free. This is the first place I've actually been to since I've been in this area, where I haven't found a load of galleries, but what they've done effectively is turn the village into one. This current exhibition started on the 27th of April and it runs through to early January 2025. As I was looking to find out who it was and how it works, it seems like every year they change the artist and give a different artist the opportunity to put their work in. I think that's a great idea. This exhibition is called The Absence of an End. I thought that was a good title. It certainly got me thinking, wondering what it meant, and then as I walked around the village and saw the sculptures, I found myself trying to figure out how the sculptures themselves related to the title of the exhibition. It made a very, very pleasant walk even more interesting. Back on the topic of romance, we've seen so far some hearts up in the trees and a beautiful little bench that they've created for couples maybe to have their photo taken on. And I don't know, I was sort of asking myself, is this romantic or is this just cheesy? Does putting a few things that we possibly associate with romance make a place feel romantic? So I spent a bit of time thinking about it, my own perception of romance, and you could quite rightly say, well, what do you know about it? And that's fair. I've only got my own experiences and stuff to make my judgments from. But I do like to think that I can be romantic at times, and I think I've done things in the past that could be or were construed as romantic gestures. It's in the afternoon and these places are all closed, which is a bit of a shame because I can imagine once 7 o'clock arrives, this will start to fill up with people, a lot of them couples, and they'll sit here. It's probably pretty lighting, and I can imagine it being a romantic setting to eat and have a meal and then just have a little wander around and maybe walk off your meal. We're almost at the end of the touristy part. Although this is a tourist location, it's actually a very small place, and as a result the tourist area is very small. We'll have a look around the sculptures and then we're going to have a little explore in the tiny streets of the village. You're going to want to see this because it really is a place where everybody takes great pride in their properties. The properties are very cute and quaint, and there's tiny little alleyways, little stairways, tunnels, great views. It really is a wonderful location. So I sort of evaluated what I've seen so far. Hearts, the lovely bench, there's flowers everywhere. These are all things that we associate with romance. I did have a look on Google to see if there was a chocolate shop, which is obviously something else we associate with romance, but there doesn't seem to be one. But for me, what I mostly associate with romance isn't any of those things, the flowers the chocolates, the bench. I'm not saying that they can't add to it, but I think the essence of romance itself is making the extra effort to make something feel special. And I think it's fair to say, and this is just my opinion, you let me know what you think, I think the people of Gassin, possibly the equivalent of the council or the parish, whoever it is who's involved in running this town, combined with the residents, I think that they've captured the essence of romance here. Bearing in mind we've not seen it in its best light in terms of, you know, maybe a little bit of low light, a little bit more life in the evening with some music. I think they've done their best and they've understood what romance is, because they've made the extra effort, all of them together, to try to make this place feel special, so that other people can go with the idea of having an experience, an evening, a dinner that's special. And they've sort of set the landscape for people who've got that in mind, and I think it's a lovely thing to do, and that they've done it very well. So for me, I personally think I can see where they're coming from with this, and it's a bit of a gimmick in some ways, but I think that behind the gimmick there's probably nothing but good intention. I couldn't imagine myself living here, but it does have a population of about 2,500 people, just over. The village itself is at an altitude of a little over 300 metres, and when I was talking to the fellow who owned the pizza restaurant, I asked him, does it ever snow up here? Because the temperature's pretty good in this part of France most of the year. But what he told me, in fact he showed me a picture of one of his children doing a snow angel. So it does snow up here, and when it snows up here, this village is going to be completely cut off due to the steep incline coming up and down. Even with snow chains and winter tyres, you're not going to be able to stop yourself on that slope. So I imagine when they know winter's coming, they probably have to stock up on everything in all of the shops and make sure they've got enough provisions to see themselves through, because they'd be cut off from the main towns where you'd normally go. When I arrived at this town and I saw the tourist office and I witnessed the view, I was completely bowled over. I didn't know it was going to be like that. But regardless, just coming through this little tiny walkway and then seeing it opening out, well, I was still in awe. And as I walk around, I realised that effectively this village is sort of a bit of a circle sitting on top of a mountain, and while you're inside that circle, everything's close together and cute and quaint, but when you get on the edges of it, you can walk round 360 degrees and have panoramic views of the mountains, the Bay of St Tropez. Wherever you are walking around the perimeter, the views are stunning. Something that's stood out when I've been visiting these lovely little places in France is that the properties often seem to have little or no garden. The way the villages are built very close together, very narrow streets, they've sort of got as many properties into this small space as they can. And I love the way that the French people have counteracted that by encouraging trees, plants, flowers to grow in places where you wouldn't normally find them. We're just approaching one of the few places in the centre that have got a garden. Not a very big garden, but a nice little outside space. Just try to imagine living here, going about your daily business in this little tiny village. You come out, you've got your letters to post, so you take a walk to the post office. Yeah, that's it there. I think you'll agree it's a completely different experience.
I can see that being a bit of a problem. No pedestrians. How am I going to get back to the motorhome? Jaywalking it is. I can understand. I mean, I don't even care about burials and stuff like that, to be honest. I think once you're dead, you're dead. But if you did believe in them, I could understand why you might want to be buried in a place like this. Can you imagine that? I get it.